You know this one. The hidden reason why some habits stick forever, while others die in a week. You know this one, I said. Before anybody had a chance to think about it, I was already bashing out the opening chords to that ZZ Top song, Tush, at full volume. Now, it was the middle of a 60-degree sunny day this afternoon at this local motorcycle rally, the spring bike bash, blessing, whatever you want to call it. It was just a party that's at our local VFW here, where a bunch of people get together. We play this motorcycle rally every year. It's the same time. It's one of those gigs that just lives on our calendar like a birthmark for us. Ben, our guitar player, caught the signal immediately. He gave me a little slight chuckle and said, "Hey, I know what this means." And he goes exactly in right behind me, thump, thump, thump. I can hear his rhythm going. And then all the rest of the band jumps in with the trademark sort of ZZ Top sound, right? And we pushed the forward of this song into the crowd to sort of shake off the winter blues, right? And we're off and running to another set to help this motorcycle bash become another successful event. Anyways, a guy at this show had been recording us, and it's very few and far between we get someone to record. It's a gift. Because over the 20 years I've been playing in music, I very rarely have any time to remember to get someone to record us. It's just something embarrassingly we don't do. We get maybe one a year, right? So it was interesting because this, an ability to get anything on tape is like a time capsule because I see it every year, right? I go back, I look back a year ago, what we looked like, what we were playing. And it's interesting because the camera adds 10 pounds, they say. In my case, I think it added about 30. Now, not being critical of the music, the band was fine. And we sounded good, as we always do. I mean, we carry our own weight. And especially carrying weight was one of the things I was thinking about. Let's just call it my winter coat. This might have been the case of a very strong winter. We had a very long, cold winter here. So I wasn't out as much as usual. In fact, I couldn't run because there was too much ice on the trails. And I did hurt myself during the middle of the winter slipping on ice. So I tended not to want to run because my knees were a little bit whacked from that. But it wasn't an excuse. There's plenty of other things I could be doing. And I think when you see yourself in a video instead of a photo, there's no angle to hide behind. Compared to footage from the same time last year, the difference was hard to ignore. It made me think about something I've started calling the benevolent abandonment. But let's be honest. What it really is self-sabotage. I've been reading a lot about self-sabotage lately. And the thing that strikes me the most is how common it is to give up on yourself without ever realizing you're giving up. Basically, you don't even know you're doing it. Your habits just sort of slowly define like what you were doing, but they're kind of disappearing. So what you do is you find yourself sort of being based on what you found comfortable. And then one day you look up and you're like, hey, wait a minute. This wasn't the person I was quite aiming to go towards. So, that's what happens. And here's the strange part. I do run quite a bit during the week, or at least I thought I did. But then I look back at my running app to the same time last year, and I'm looking at, I was in the 8-minute mile area. That's pretty fast for a guy approaching 60 years old. So it's clear as day that things have shifted for me. Now, this is a cycle that's happened before, and it's something I change habits and I change out stuff. And I'm actually pretty active. It's just that I think from a perspective of where I've been before, I'm wearing the simple truth around me right now, which is that motivation and routines just haven't really stuck as much as they used to. And yet here I am writing this journal every single day. That habit stuck. In fact, I've been writing every single day for so long, I don't even know how long I've been writing for. I can't even remember the last time I didn't write. Every morning or every evening, I sit down for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, whatever it might be, think through a topic, write about it. It still takes energy, it still takes thought, it still takes, pure like motivation. It might use different systems. I'm sure that, the body systems obviously are different if you're doing exercise, but the fact is it's a habit. It's a productive daily discipline that has become a part of me just as much as brushing my teeth. So why did the writing stick when the exercise and dietary cadences just didn't stick? I think there's a word that's missing from most of this, which is called enjoyable. Now, that word is not to be mixed with discipline. We talk about consistency, we talk about systems and accountability and streaks, but we almost never talk about the fact that the thing that truly becomes part of us are the things we actually enjoy. Now, if we force ourselves to do things, it never lasts. Not the things that are like the white knuckle things that we try and get the goal started, and 6 weeks later, if we can just get there, that never makes a lifelong difference. So there has to be something in the mix, something effective, something that carries the whole pure magic of wanting to do it because it feels good to do it. When those things overlap, you don't need an alarm clock or a coach or a vision board. You just do it because it pulls you forward. This is why surfers stay in shape their whole lives. They're not grinding through sets at a gym under fluorescent lights. They're chasing waves because chasing waves is the best part of their day. The fitness is a byproduct of joy. It's the quintessential case of form meeting function, where the achievement is actually baked into the experience itself rather than bolted on as some separate punishment. And I guarantee you, I'd be in the water right now. I'd literally stay in for 3 or 4 hours a day if I could, but I don't live next to the beach. And I don't think I'm all of a sudden going to figure out some new hobby like pickleball and ride that wave into some miraculous transformation. But I do know this. A few years back when I had broken below the 200-pound mark, which is pretty good for me, which is I don't typically get below that too often, it really made a difference, but I have no idea what it was. It wasn't some rigid plan. I didn't really have to think about it. This is more, I was more active. Again, this was literally only like 24 months ago. I was just busy doing stuff, things that held my interests. I don't even remember what it was. I don't know specifically what it was, even dietary wise. I don't think there was much to it. It was just, I was active. I was engaged. I was doing something enjoyable, and health came along for the ride. And that's the real clue right there. Figuring out what sticks in your life is the recipe for all success, not just fitness. It's doing something that's obviously not harmful, that moves you into a positive direction, that will get, over time, you get better at it. Because I've seen it in business, I've seen it in my cooking, I've seen it in songwriting, I've seen it in every arena of my life where a meaningful change has made happen. Because there's always a common thread where it was never punishment or obligation, it was enjoyment. And for that thing to also have even a social aspect to it, now you've really got something. Now you're not just running a habit, you're actually building a life around something enjoyable that it's social. Now I've been looking at my mountain bike in my garage, and I know that this year's been pretty difficult because the ground's been frozen, but that's not an excuse. I could be riding a bike right now, I could be on a stationary bike, or I could have a small bike under my desk, right? Maybe that's the thing that sticks. Maybe that's the thing that's missing, right? What if I was just standing right now and walking on a treadmill, right? Those are things that, are sort of innocuous that could happen. Now, I think this is really what I'm getting at, which is the most important part of this entire conversation, is that anything could be enjoyable, but you have to try it. There's this invisibility that we don't know until we actually do it. I didn't know writing a journal would be enjoyable. I just started doing it. And then I did it some more. And now it's just something I do because I like doing. In fact, I smile when I write these things because I'm like, this is pretty cool. But here's what I think that, again, matters most. We have to create our own enjoyment. Nobody's coming to build that for us. No, there's nobody waiting to say, hey, here's the thing that's going to make you miraculously 20 pounds lighter or 50 basis points better in your stocks or whatever. There is There's an activity that needs to be checking the box, right? There needs to be something that fits neatly into your schedule that also happens to burn maybe hundreds of calories, right? But you have to go looking for it. You can't sit there. You have to experiment. You have to pay attention to what pulls you back to the second and third time when you have the wisdom to say, that's the one. Let me build around that. Now, what sticks for you? Where could you find enjoyable pathways to the things that make you better? That's not rhetorical. That's not a question that is like a game question. It's the habits that we actually do, the things that we actually do in life, the lessons that we learn from these habits are the ones that are powered not just by discipline. They're powered by you being part of it. Your self-sabotage doesn't always look like a dramatic quit. Most of the time, it's a slow drift, a quiet redefinition of who you are based on the comfort that you've experienced rather than attention. The antidote isn't more willpower, and that's the truth. It's finding the thing that pulls you forward because you genuinely want to do it. When something is both good for you mhm, and enjoyable, it stops you from building the life from going in the wrong direction. And it starts you to a life that you can stick with. That's something that's worth sticking to.